And now. Hello and welcome back to Paranormal NL Podcast. That's PNL Podcast for short. I'm your host and founder, Jen Noseworthy. I hope everyone is enjoying their new year 2025. This is a pre-recorded show broadcasting on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM Gulf Coast. Listen to Paranormal NL Podcast on UPRN on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. PNL Podcast is sponsored by the BOG team, a boots-on-the-ground team doing paranormal investigations in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, and follow UPRN at uprntalkradio.com and all their socials. Paranormal NL Podcast believes in promoting paranormal networking, paranormal tourism, and paranormal people, places, and things all over the world. Contact me, your host, Jen, at paranormal.nl.podcast@gmail.com and follow the PNL Podcast and the BOG team at their Linktree, Paranormal NL Podcast. Now let's get on with the show. Tonight I have on with me, all the way from California, USA. Welcome, Tim Sudano. Hey, Tim.
Thank you. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. How you been?
Thanks for being on, Tim. Good. Now, Tim, if you don't already know it, is also on UPRN, and his show is on Thursday nights from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you follow Tim.
That's 12 Pacific.
Tim, yeah. Shout out to the Pacific. I know right now it's almost 8 o'clock here. What time is it over your way?
It's 3, a little after 3.
Yeah. Yeah, bit of a time zone difference there. So, Tim, introduce yourself. Tell me about you and your team, Paranormal Insight. Tell me all about it.
Sure. Paranormal Insight is the name of the show, actually. The name of the team is SCARI.
SCARI.
I'm the lead investigator. My camera just cut out there for a second.
No, I got it. SCARI. That's Seekers.
SCARI stands for Seekers of California for Ethereal Research and Investigation.
Right, love it.
We do it all, including cleansings, which is unique among a lot of teams. We can actually get rid of the problem for you if it's a problem.
I love that you offer that too. I know we have a medium in our team that offers it, but we kind of do that separately. We don't like to say, oh yeah, we can definitely get rid of your spirit, because some spirits just don't want to leave. But yeah, it does help to have a cleanser, definitely. Now, does your cleanser cleanse your team before and after, or how does that work with you guys, or do you just do your own thing?
Yep, absolutely. She bubbles us up, as she calls it.
Yes, yeah, I love that word, the bubble. Get in the bubble. Right. Now, Tim, tell me, when did you start doing this with SCARI?
SCARI came into being in 2011. I had just graduated college, and there was something that came up where I had heard a legend about the campus I was attending.
Okay.
And so I did a little digging. I was going to make it a final film project for my my final. And so I started doing a little digging, and it's weird. There were mentions of it here and there in like the archives, but by and large, it was just a legend. I mean, there was nothing solid or no police reports, or there was a minor mention. It wasn't even a direct mention of an issue in the local newspaper at the time. This happened back in the 70s. This incident I'm speaking of.
Okay.
But nonetheless, there was a lot of activity in the theater area where the supposed undocumented incident occurred. And so I go to my friend, good friend of mine, Henry. And
Henry's
right.
No longer. This is in California you're referring to, correct, Tim?
Yeah, the college is in California, yeah.
Right, and, yeah. So what was Henry saying?
One more time?
What was Henry saying about the college? And
so I tell Henry about this, and good buddy of mine. He's very analytical, super analytical. And I said, so what do you think of this? He says, it's worth checking out. What do we do? So I did a little checking on my own, and all those TV shows were out, and I checked the legitimacy of some of the equipment they were using. I had some of that equipment available to me. So I said, well, let's just turn into a ghost hunt and see what we find. He says, okay, one thing I want to do is I want to bring on a couple of psychics, or at least one psychic. I said, oh, okay. And that was weird coming from him because he's the brain, he's all about facts and empirical evidence and that type of thing. So he says, let's find a psychic. So we put an ad out. Back then, Craigslist was still legit. And so we got a couple of pings back, and we found one we really liked, and her friend was also involved, more of an empath than anything else, but we had someone who at least claimed to be a psychic. We didn't vet them too harshly because we were kind of on the clock. So we get everyone together. We go to this college, and I explain what we're looking for. And let's see if I can share it as I tell you the rest of this story. There's a piece of audio, one piece of audio that we capture that verified there was some sort of spiritual existence. Whether or not it was linked to this specific incident, and I'll tell you what it is right now. There was reports of when this theater first opened, there's reports of a suicide in front of a few people after the opening of of one of their first shows there.
Okay.
And the story goes that there's this young couple. They attend the first ever ballet that was performed there, and it was a beautiful thing. Everyone really enjoyed themselves. Everyone was in their best dressed, tuxes and gowns, that type of thing. And so curtain goes down, everyone takes their bows, and the theater starts clearing out. He gets everyone's attention. He's like, hey, everyone. And they all turn to him. And this is a huge theater. This seats easily maybe 500, 700 people. And it was packed
That's
to
a
the
big
gills.
Theater, right?
Big theater, right. So he gets everyone's attention. They all turn to him, and he gets down on one knee, opens up this ring case, and proposes to his girlfriend.
Nice.
She shoots him down.
Oh no! She says no in front of everybody.
She said, "No, I'm not ready for that yet." And he just drops everything and runs off, and no one knows what happens to him. He disappears into the crowd, and I don't know what happened to her. But eventually I guess she had some friends nearby in the audience as well, and they took her home.
Right.
So
yeah. Must have been really embarrassing incident for sure.
Oh, I'm sure it was embarrassing all the way around.
Yeah.
So there was some time goes by. Most everyone's gone. There's a few would-be barflies still hanging out at the open bar. There used to be a bar up on the second floor.
Right.
And
what is it about old theaters that are always haunted, though? Right? So, there's a few people left there.
The thing is, this theater was relatively new in the 70s.
Okay.
Relatively new. So, this kid, whether he was old enough to drink or not, he was reported to be a little tipsy. Says life was not worth living, and takes a dive off the second floor balcony head first.
Oh my goodness!
That was the end for him. Now here's where the strange part happens. This has been a persistent legend over there forever. No one has come out and said no, it's not real. No one has come out and said yes, this did happen. I checked the archives, as I said before. One more time.
What's the name of the theater? Or do you want to give that out?
Oh, I think it's in the first 4 episodes of my show if you want to check it out for yourself. I don't want to give too much away. I'm going to tease you a little bit. You got to go watch the original show. So, and that's kind of where the story ends. But digging through the archives, nothing really pops up at all. Not even in police reports, no coroner's reports, nothing about that from that era. And I searched the whole decade. And so that's what we're going to look for. And we only come up with a specific piece of evidence that gets this is pretty cool, that gets captured. And the funny thing is we had a camera and we had a handheld recorder, and we had another camera further away. We're out in the at the outdoor foyer, the way this thing's built.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an outer foray and an inner foyer. I can't speak. I'm so sorry. Anyway, so we're on the outside portion, and one of my investigators asks a question. It's like, where are you? Are you anywhere near me? Can you hear me? Something along those lines. And we only get a response on one thing, and that's the voice recorder that she's holding. Never mind, I'm pretty close with the camera, and the other camera's close enough that someone should have picked something up to corroborate it, but it only showed up on her recorder, and it names her. It says, I'm right next to you, Farah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
now, is this person who they were next to, was that your medium?
That was my medium. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because they seem to really know who the mediums are. I find when you're out.
Yeah. They definitely know who they are. That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So you said you got a capture on that. Are you able to share that?
I have a capture, but I can't seem to access it. In fact, my computer froze up a little bit here. Bear with me.
I love technology.
Good old technology. Gotta love it.
So yeah. So where did the name come about? The SCARI. I like the acronym SCARI, but who came up with that?
I did.
Did you? And now Paranormal Insight, that's your podcast, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And how long have you been podcasting, Tim?
This thing is frozen on my end.
No worries.
One more time?
How long have you been podcasting?
Oh, I've been podcasting since 2021? 21? No, that's not right. 3 years. 2022, excuse me.
Okay. Welcome to the club. Now, I have to give a shout out also to Kat Ward. She's also on UPRN, and we're making fun of it, calling it the Canadian night, Tuesday nights, because she's on right after me at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard. And of course, we got to give a shout out to Tommy Cullum. I think we mentioned him off air. We were talking about his Let's Get Freaky podcast, and Kat Ward is with the Paranormal Heart podcast. Of course, you're all part of the Fab Five, and also JJRose777. I had her on too. I think I had Tommy, Kat, and JJ all on in season 2, 2024. And Erick.
Fantastic.
Got to give a shout out to Erick.
Yeah. Uncomfortable podcast. Yeah.
Uncomfortable podcast. Yeah. So tell us more about some of your investigations. Is there any investigation besides that one that sticks out in your mind? I know you're still trying to pull up the audio, but you know, you can keep trying and then pull it up later.
I couldn't. The computer's bogged for whatever reason on my end.
Oh, it's okay.
So, because I have everything in a folder and I'm ready to bring it over, but it won't work for whatever reason.
Sometimes that happens, right? So, and it never fails, and it's when you need it the most, you can't find it, or it doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So is there anything else that sticks out in your mind for when you were
Oh,
doing
sure.
some of
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
scary
I have
investigations?
there was there was one case. It was in a town up here called Saratoga,
Saratoga? Okay.
and yeah, and
What happened
so
in
we get called
Saratoga,
in on
Tim?
this case. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you think of it, it was happening at this house. Full-bodied apparitions, orbs, footsteps up and down the hall from people who weren't there,
Right.
object manipulation, and full-bodied apparitions.
So you had the full
So the
enchilada.
big five on that.
Yeah.
The whole enchilada was going on in that house. Yeah, absolutely.
So was this house
It was
an
good
older
times.
house, or what do you think was it about this
It was
house?
a relatively new. No, it was relatively new. It wasn't a brand new construction. I'd say it was maybe 30, 40 years
Oh,
old
you
at
said the
that point.
word. What is it about the R word, renovation or construction, where it all stirs up stuff, doesn't it?
It wasn't that, though. I mean, these things hadn't been touched. I mean, they were just condos. They've been there since like the 80s or
Okay.
70s or something like that. And but yeah, you're right. Renovation does stir up a lot of stuff. You're changing the flow of someone's spiritual whatever, and
Yeah, they're
freak
like,
out.
"Wait a minute, there used to be a
But
door here.
getting
Where's
back
my
to the
door?"
case, getting back to the case, there was we go in, we meet the folks and who are there. It's a lovely little family, mom, dad, and a daughter, and they have a couple of dogs. And usual protocol, you interview them there on the spot, and you say, what's going on, what are you looking to have happen versus what do whatever it is we could do at the time, we were going to try and help them. And they told us their problems, and we were just the list just kept getting longer and longer and longer. I was like, man, okay, I have one
You're like,
camera operating at this point and a voice recorder, so we're gonna have to plan this out. So we get we're not a big television show with a huge budget, so the client has to stay where they're at. I mean, they have work the next day. They called us in on a Thursday. So
right? Yeah.
right. So we work with them, and they kind of stay off in the corner. They don't want to be involved in the investigation directly.
Oh, okay. Because
So we get
sometimes they're
a
good
plan
to
of
be a
attack
trigger
going.
object, you know?
True, and I think that's exactly what happened with a few cases here. And as I get into it, so we're there for maybe an hour, and we don't see it happen, but on playback we see it happen, where there's this orb, and I'm not a believer in orbs up until this happened. Up until this happened, I thought orbs were dust. Okay.
Right? Yeah, me too, until I seen him do some really weird acrobatic stuff.
Well, that's exactly what happened. So we're sitting on the floor of this room where we got the camera pointed down at us up on a tripod, and we're doing a session, an EVP session. We're asking questions. We didn't get any responses on the EVP, but when on playback, we see this orb, this little bright green dot. And I mean, it's bright. I'm surprised we didn't see it, but for whatever reason, it was outside our normal.
Okay. Yeah. Little
usual
bright green
spectrum.
dot. Right.
Well, it's green because we had the infrared on, but the old infrared when it was green, now it's black and white. So we're on the floor, and from behind me, you see this little green dot going, and it enters my back and comes out my front, right here, like around my kidney area.
Okay.
And then it flies out. It kind of zigs a little bit. It goes into my arm and out the other side and flies off frame.
Are you sure this wasn't part of the magic bullet?
Yes, it was. The Zapruder film would never catch it.
I've seen some orbs do some
really
really weird things. We had this orb one time, went to this guy, fly across the room, hover in front of his face for like 2 seconds because it knew who he was, and then it shot straight up into the ceiling, and I was like, "What the?" And it was so, like, intelligent the way it did it, and he sensed it, he turned right towards it and looked right at it, and it just stopped right in front of his face. It was really weird. But when you had this happen to you, did you feel anything?
Yeah, so I did. When the orb went through my arm, you'll see me scratch right afterwards.
No way.
There was an itch. It was a weird little twitchy tingle. It was bizarre.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did you have your medium at that time too with you?
No, we didn't. We had our two, I call them our junior psychics, the two from the theater. They were there with us.
Right. Yeah.
And so they were there. They didn't sense or feel anything. Actually, they were kind of twitchy about the whole house. I shouldn't say that. They were, something's here, something's off, something's weird, but that they couldn't pinpoint it. And it is one of those sensations. I call it, and I'm sure I didn't coin this term, but I call it hitting the wall when you walk into a place that is affected. It's like the atmosphere is off and it's a little stuffy for no real reason. And something's oppressive about the atmosphere. So
you can feel it a little bit heavier. Right.
Yeah.
So what else happened in that house?
So after the orb thing, go ahead.
After the orb thing?
After the orb thing, we're drawn out of the orb thing when we hear this movement, this scuttering movement. And my buddy Henry is there, and he says, "Tim, you got to see this." We all rush outside, and he's looking down into the kitchen, and there's this massive dog feeder, like the big bottles of food and water,
right? Yeah,
filled to the brim, and it's in the middle of the kitchen. All of a sudden, we heard it move. We didn't see it move, darn it, but we heard it move, and
so it moved in the middle of the kitchen.
We're always like, "You didn't move this. You're not messing with me." No. Okay, great. So he says, "And watch, look at this." Now, unbeknownst to me, he brought a tape measure. The man's brilliant. So he goes around and measures where the dog dish is in relationship to this relatively square kitchen. Dead center.
In the kitchen. Okay.
I mean,
so the ghost, maybe he was an engineer before or something.
Well, that's poltergeist activity. They'll right into the middle of a room. I mean, dead center in the middle of a room. That's poltergeist 101.
Yeah, so, that's a bit weird. Yeah.
It's weird. What do we have going on here? All this stuff is culminating in these people's home. Yeah. So we push it back. We wait. We antagonize.
Oh no! What did you do to antagonize? What did you do?
Nothing else happens. Nothing else happens with the dog dish anyway. So we give up on the dog dish after about a half hour, and we move to we go back into the bedroom where we were holding our first EVP session. We're going to wrap up, and I have my camera there, and it's rolling. It's on infrared. And I'm checking my watch. I wore a watch back then. And then you hear this running down the hall. Now, they have dogs.
Yeah.
Wasn't a dog. This thing was huge and heavy, and I saw it. It looked like, I call it the demon monkey. It looked like a shaved ape with like this really gnarly elephantine skin. And its hunch was so bad that it almost looked like it didn't have a head. And it go, that sideways run apes do? That's
Right.
what it was. And it was chimp size and it ran down the hallway.
Wow. Now, do you think
And
it
the
could have
camera
been?
didn't pick it up.
Of course not. That's when you want something to,
Of
to pick
course.
it up. It never does, right? Or you have equipment malfunction or something right at that time. So, are they this
Oh,
house, is that in
gosh.
the woods, Tim?
No, this is in town. This is in front of a major thoroughfare in
Okay.
Saratoga.
Because the
That's
reason
the
why I
thing.
asked,
There's pretty heavy
California,
traffic.
you've got Bigfoot, you've got Dogman, you got everything. So I was thinking, could it have been something else, maybe like some kind of weird portal in this house or something? What do you think it was?
Um, I think you're close. I think there was an open door policy in that house, for lack of a better term, for all kinds of spiritual activity.
Were
And it was
the people
brought
who
on.
lived there, were they doing different things or like, I don't know, spirit box,
Yeah.
Ouija board or something?
No, it was worse. The mother of, I forget who, I want to say the wife of the house, um, lived with them for a while, and she went on this spiritual retreat in South America somewhere and brought a bunch of stuff back with her
Oh.
that she probably shouldn't have,
Like what? Like,
and
artifacts?
went from yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and she also got these paper lanterns. They're 5-point paper lanterns. They look like stars. Within
Okay.
them, they have more stars at various angles, 5-point stars. And they were hung all along the hallway and into the kitchen area. And so basically made a really large capital L if you looked at it from above.
Alright.
So that was one thing. Plus, there were a bunch of other things that she brought with her that she later took with her when she moved out again. But all this weird energy started when she moved in, and it never left. And the only thing that
So
remained behind were these paper lanterns.
okay, yeah,
So
so
let me finish the rest of the case because it gets worse.
uh-oh, okay, what else
so
happened?
yeah. So we go into the master bedroom in the back of this place, and in that master bedroom, bed, dresser, what you would expect, and a full-length mirror.
Right?
So our psychics and Henry and our clients all sit around. I'm there too. I got the camera behind me facing the full-length mirror in the bed, which is
Okay.
one's right next to the other. And we get into this thing, and we ask. I let my psychic at the time lead the Q&A.
Was she scrying in the
We do
mirror?
another big EVP session. Everyone's energy is concentrated in this spot.
Mhm.
And suddenly she goes silent. And she buries her head in her face like this. And she starts kind of crying. I said, "What's going on? What's happening? Are you okay?" And she points back. He's here. Okay, so
Okay,
now
so
it's
he was
intense.
behind
Game
you.
on. We're asking more questions. All right. So we ask more questions, and we're not getting any real responses, but she's weeping more and more. And I said, "Farrah, if you're in communication, you have to let us know what he's saying." He says he's not really saying anything. He keeps pointing to you and shaking his head like tisk tisk to
Don't like
me.
what you're doing. 'Cause you're the team
Apparently not.
lead. That's why, right?
I said, yeah, well, I'm the boss.
Mhm.
So
They don't want you there, yeah, and pointing at you.
he keep
Yeah.
right. So I press. I said, "Farrah, hang on. I'm gonna aggravate this guy." And I start kind of yelling at him. I
Oh, no.
antagonize even harder. I'm looking for something to manifest.
Okay.
And
So you're provoking.
I said, I'm hyper provoking. I'm gone beyond normal provocation. I'm basically yelling at this guy.
You're asking for it.
And
Okay.
Oh, I'm asking for it. If anything's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. And I said, put up or shut up, something along those lines. I was very brave back then. Nowadays, I wouldn't do that so much. But I tell this thing, put up or shut up. If you're going to do something, do it. Otherwise, get out.
Ooh.
And then you feel everything kind of relax a little bit, like the tension in the room just, whoa. And she stops crying. She says, "Oh, it worked. That worked, Tim. He's gone. He stepped out."
Right.
But there's that sense of, ugh, right? There's
something
that icky,
there.
heavy feeling still.
Okay.
So I said, okay, well, I pushed him back a little bit. Let me do this. Now, the husband has to get up at 6 a.m., so we're going to swap out. He's going to take over the master bedroom, go to sleep. We're going to do some more silent stuff, and we're also just going to step out. We're going to go get a late supper. It's like 2 a.m. So we're going to go get a late something to eat and leave the camera running. Pardon me. And
so the camera's going.
Ready to walk out the door. The camera's rolling. And just as we're ready to walk out the door and get our supper, the husband, comes out. He fell asleep immediately. I don't know how he did it, but he did. He fell asleep immediately, and he's holding his cell phone. And it's like, you know how groggy you are when you have to move? And he's holding his cell phone. It's going off. And it has this creepy alarm. It sounds like a melting music box. It's that demented and atonal and bling, 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 bling. I couldn't even do it justice.
Right.
And so she had just finished telling us the story. I forgot to tell you about the cell phone. And then it happens. And that's it. That's the cell phone. She starts freaking out. All right, calm down. So Henry goes over, the super psychic, that's a psychic, but the empirical science guy goes over, he takes the phone, turns it off, says, "There, I solved your problem. I turned it off." Okay. Closes it, bing, ding, 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 right in his hand, right? Turns it off. He says, he looks at him and he says, "Oh, can I look at this for a sec?" Sure. Now, Henry's the kind of guy, very technically oriented, could dig into a cell phone, even the old flip phone days. So this is prior to smartphones, just prior. But he's digging through it, and he's looking at it, and he says, "Oh, gosh, I found it. It's an alarm for appointments." He found the sound because it wasn't in the main listing. He had to dig for it, right? He says, "I found this sound. Bing, ding, ding." Yeah, that's it. And it was for something it was specifically for appointments. You had to schedule it in your phone in order to make this go off. And there were no such listings in this guy's phone. Henry double checked. He was so sure. He says, "Well, that's weird. That shouldn't have happened."
Right. Yeah. So it found a sound that freaked him out, and it knew it freaked him out, right?
Well, freaked me out. I think it was demented sounding. So Henry says, "Okay, do you have another alarm clock?" And he says, Yeah, I can use the old alarm clock. It should work. Okay. Takes the battery out. Puts both halves on there's this little breakfast buffet thing. Or a buffet, you know what I mean?
Right.
Island,
yep.
next to the kitchen, and he puts it there and leaves it alone and says, "Okay, let's just solve our problems." Okay, great. Husband walks back in the bedroom, and he's looking. Henry picks the phone back up for a second. He said, "I can't understand how ding, 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 it rings again in his hands."
No, and the battery's out.
The battery's on the counter. And we have this on tape. I'm so thrilled.
Oh my gosh.
Rings and the battery's ding, ding, ding. He opens it carefully. And he's about to turn it off, and it turns off on his own.
Right.
He says, "Tim, did you see that?" I said, "No, I didn't see it. He had the phone away from me." It says the screen was completely red.
No.
Okay.
The cell phone was
Were there
red?
symbols or anything? Did you see any numbers? And he says, "No, nothing like that." He says it was just red.
So did you guys?
So he says, "Well,
What did y'all
Sorry?
do? What did y'all do after that?
Well
Get your stage going?
so we stay on. We skip our supper idea. We stay on. We do another EVP session because
There's
we're
a bit
having
of
all this
sage for you.
activity all of a sudden. Yeah, thank you. No, we're good.
Yeah.
And we continue our thing, and suddenly there's zero. There's just whatever it was just stopped, and wasn't. Oh my gosh, I almost smell that. That's so weird. That's a weird psychosomatic reaction. So it's just stopped, and we say, okay, well, we're done. We leave the camera here with you. And she says, no, don't leave the camera here. And you remember those lanterns I told you about?
Yes,
Well,
yes,
they've
the
been bugging
lantern.
me all night.
Okay.
So I said, they're bugging me all night, and I finally put it together. There's a cross in every room of this house, and there's all this pagan stuff hanging in the hallway. So there's a collision.
A clash.
Of
Yes.
energies.
Yeah.
Big time. And so I said, do me a favor. Pull all these down tonight. Just pull them all down and stick them somewhere in the attic if you want. They have a little storage attic. So I said, stick it up there and don't burn them. Do not burn them. Just stick them up there and forget about them. I'm going to check them with you in a couple of days, and in a week we'll have a video for you to look at.
Okay.
So she says, okay. And as we're leaving, she's starting to pull these things down. I call her a couple days later. Hey, how's it going over there? It's going great. I should add, there's a little side note here. The daughter was so disturbed by the activity in that house, she moved into the garage.
Now, was it before or after your investigation that she moved?
Before.
Okay.
So
they pulled the lights down, the lantern.
So a couple of days later, I call. She has moved back into the room. Everything feels really nice all of a sudden, according to her. So I speed up my editing of this video, and we go over there, Henry and I, and we talk to him again, and the house feels amazing.
Right? It feels like it's been totally clear.
Is gone. So
happy. Yeah.
It cleared out. Yeah. Once we took that collision of energies, it seemed to do the trick.
Right.
So, ta-da. So that was one of our bigger cases.
Yeah, that was really weird, especially with the cell phone. Hey.
Oh. Henry came up with a suggestion I didn't really buy into. He says, well, maybe there was a leftover charge in the phone. It's like, not on those models, buddy. You can say that about a smartphone maybe, but not on those old flip phones.
Not on those old ones. Yeah, the Razor ones or whatever. But what happened to the paper things? I guess they just left them up there. They never did anything with them. They never burned them.
Collecting dust in that attic as far as that. Actually, they moved. I think they left them behind.
Or
throw them out.
The new owners are like, what is all this? Yeah, she must have definitely brought something strange with her. Can you think of any other weird investigations? Grandma. Ah, okay.
Sure.
Do you have any other
the one where JJ first joined?
Sure, yeah. Shout out to JJRose777. Follow her. Listen to her.
If you watch my channel, you'll know it. But
what were you going to say about JJ?
So JJ, we were looking for a new psychic because our old ones were getting too wigged out. The young junior psychics I was telling you about, they were getting too wigged out by the activity, and it just wasn't good for them. So they said, we can't do it anymore. So all right, no worries. I understand.
Right.
So Henry and I go shopping. We need a few. None of them are really cutting the mustard, so to speak, but there's this case that crops up in the interim where this family had just moved in with their grandmother, Excuse me again. Sorry. Right.
Must be all that sage I was floating around earlier.
Yeah, right. But there was a case that comes in. This young family moves in with his mother, the husband's mother. Husband's a brand new. He just got out of the army, so he brought his wife. He met someone over in Europe, and they got married, had a kid, came over, so on and so forth. Well, when they get here, it's not the happiest of times. Grandpa, is sundowning, but he's a very active individual. He's I wouldn't say he's lucid per se, but he's not laying in bed dying. He's up and at it, and he's in a fugue state, and he's constantly going, and he locks himself in his room most times. He barely comes out for, you're lucky if you get him for one meal throughout the day. And he's always having a very intense conversation with someone behind his door.
Okay.
So 2 weeks after the son gets back, 2 weeks of this, and then Dad suddenly isn't having this conversation and he passes. A few weeks after that, there's a lot of strange activity in the hallway by Granddad's old room.
Okay.
And, walking up and down the hallway, knocking on the door, on his door, and minor object manipulation. So when I got a call, I said, we have problems. There's this, we saw this huge shadow person standing over our bed at about 3 a.m. last night. And
that's never fun.
I've been talking. Oh, no. So I said, I'm shocked by this. I'm shocked by this. And there's he says, yeah, if you can come over now. I said, yeah, okay, I'll come over now. I'm by myself. My buddy Henry's at work. I happen to be off early that day. So I come over. And walk in the place, and there's that weird feeling again, slight heaviness to it. He says, you're never going to believe this. And I said, what's that? Just after I hung up with you, there's a coffee cup. It's still on the floor because I wanted you to see it. Flew off the counter and smashed on the floor.
The coffee cup flew off the counter.
Smashed on the floor. Just like a cat was angry with it, and this but
went flying. Cat. Right. And, okay, that was going to be my next question. Does he have pets? Yeah. Okay.
No pets.
No pets. Yeah.
And I said, okay, so what were you doing before this? My wife was washing dishes, and they don't have a dishwasher. They have an old draining board, so a lot of hot water can accumulate on there. He says, no, you're right. I thought that's what she did too. I thought she put it on the thing and acted like a hovercraft and floated off the counter. She says that's not what happened. She says, I put it in the draining board, the little plastic thing with the spikes on it. You could put cups on and stuff like that. And she said it flipped. It went out of the draining board, nice little rainbow onto the, rainbow pattern onto the ground and shattered. I said,
so
okay.
Spirit either wanted to have a coffee real bad or just didn't like that mug. Hey.
or they're pissed that I got called in.
No, probably. They're pissed. They know you're there, and they know that you're gonna try to get them out of there.
Right. So that was his assumption, and I said, well, that's a possibility, but I don't want to leap to conclusions. It's not like I'm, I have a major reputation at this point anyway. But he called for help. I came. Maybe he got mad. Who knows? So I say, okay, you're going to think I'm strange, but you take a little bit of salt. You're going to sprinkle it over the cup. You're going to put rubber gloves on. You're going to scrape all that gunk up, salt and broken bits and all, and stick it in the garbage. Why salt? Just do it. I don't have time to explain it to you. Just do it. Okay. So I said, let's have everyone do a sit down at the kitchen table. Okay. Now it's just him and his wife in the house. The mother was somewhere, I think at a church function, if memory serves. And so it's just him and his wife. And they explain what's been happening and how their daughter sleeps with them in the bed because they just moved in. They have no place for their kid, and especially with all the activity, they want to keep her close. So the daughter's in the bed with mom and dad. And I said, wow, that seems really uncomfortable. She says it is, but she's so scared, and we're scared for her because this thing seems to be targeting her. New piece of information. They didn't tell me that before.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, okay. Why do you think it's targeting her and not you? He says it only appears to her most times. Last night was the first time we all saw it. We told her it was her imagination. I feel horrible about that, the dad says. And I said, oh, okay. Well, okay, you're going to take me there right now, then we're going to check it out. And they take me to their it's a teeny little room, and it's in the room where the garage door opens. There's that door that opens out into the garage. So this is meant to be a den. It turned into a bedroom, just out of necessity.
Okay.
And I say, okay. And there's a ooky feeling there. And as I'm passing this closed door, by the way, I don't know whose door it is. Oh, that's Dad's door. Oh, that's the room you told me about. Okay. If there's any opportunity for me to go in there at one point, I'd like to take advantage of it. He says, nope, not going to happen. I said, oh, all right, why not? He says, because that's every time I open that door, it gets worse.
Okay. That's another reason to go in there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right. So I can't take him on by myself. If Henry was there, she
right. Yeah. The 47-minute mark. Yeah. Keep going.
So, oh my gosh, we are talking a long time. Sorry about that.
No. You're doing good. So we've got this mysterious dad's door, the garage area. The child is scared.
So I walk into this. Yeah. Walk into this back bedroom and spooky feeling again. I said, is this the door he comes through? He says, yeah, he walks right through it. I said, okay. I open the door. It's pitch black in there. Pitch black. I mean, it's dark. Like my surroundings, my digital surroundings here. It's that dark in the garage. No light seeping in whatsoever. I said, is there a light switch? I can see what's going on. Sure. Flick. And it is chock full. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a hoarder thing. It's almost like someone built up all this junk in a specific way. There's only a pathway to the laundry area and to the side door that leads outside. Everything else is more or less blocked off. And I said, did you do this on purpose? He says, no. I heard it happen, though. I said, wait, you think these objects were manipulated like this? He says, I know they were. Because I know what this garage looked like before.
That's weird.
So
okay.
I said, okay, great. I need to get my partner out here. We need to do a formal investigation, see if we can get anything on tape. What have you done? He says, and he stops me. I'm sorry. He stops me and he says, no, I want you to get rid of this thing. Now, this is before JJ. And I said, I don't have that ability. I'm sorry. I can't do that. He says, well, my mom called a priest out and they had him bless the place. And it worked for a second, but it just seemed to make it angrier. What am I going to do? I said, I can do a little digging and try and find someone who can help you, but it'll take a little while. No, I want it done now. I said, I can't do it. I don't have the ability. I don't have the wherewithal, the training at all. I don't know how to do this. He gets fed up with me. He says, okay, I think I need to go with someone else. I said, it's your prerogative. I don't know that you're going to find anyone out here, but I hope if you want me to do a little research for you, I will. And basically he escorts me out of the house from that point forward.
Because he wanted it fixed immediately, it sounds like, all right?
He wanted it gone. So he's fed up, he's frustrated, he doesn't, and about a week or less than a week later, Henry and I had, as I mentioned, had started our search for a replacement psychic, and we find JJ. I call
everybody follow JJRose777.
Listen, I have your solution. We're ready to rock. Nothing. Radio silence. He wants nothing to do with me. So, que sera. We never got an opportunity to help him, unfortunately.
Oh, you didn't get a chance to go back?
No,
did you ever hear from the guy to see if he fixed it?
No.
That's too bad. Don't you hate it when you don't get to see the follow-up or what happened, and you're always wondering, I wonder what happened, right?
Yeah. I drive by that house every so often, and it's like, I wonder. Yeah,
that happens sometimes. You never know. You never get to the end of it to see what really happened. I'm going to do another little station ID here. Paranormal NL Podcast is sponsored by the Bog Team and is streaming pre-recorded on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, on 107.7 FM New Orleans and 105.3 FM Gulf Coast. So, Tim, how do you like being on UPRN?
I love it. It's a great format.
It is. Platform. Shout out to Michelle and UPRN and everybody on there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Make sure you tune in to Tim. He comes on. And again, he's on UPRN Thursday nights from 3 to 5 Eastern Standard. And you got any teasers for your listeners about who's coming up next on your show?
Yes, I have the Soul Detectives coming up next this coming Thursday. 2 doctors, a husband and wife team, Dr. Barbara Stone and Dr. Robert Alcorn. They have, they're both, one's a clinical psychiatrist and the other one's a psychologist.
Oh, interesting.
And,
okay.
Both had an awakening at one point in their lives and, pivoted their careers to expand into the spiritual as well as the mental.
Wow. So I have a couple episodes here. There's JJRose777 we were talking about there. And there's Eric from the Uncomfortable Podcast.
There she is.
And then
that was last week. That was great.
Yeah, it looks like Charlene.
That was last week. That was Charlene. She was fantastic.
Yeah. And then you had this person on, and this was your first segment, the Jen he talked about.
First one, a very long 1-hour intro of who I was, and then we got into the episode.
I bet the Jen was fun. And there's you showing off your shirt. I just did a few screenshots here and there.
And there's my little thing for Veterans Day.
You can follow.
That's the Instagram.
Yep. And there's your Happy Thanksgiving.
Saying Happy Thanksgiving.
And I think I've got your link tree, but yeah, I'll put your link tree in the bio so people can find it for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, we still got a couple more minutes left if you want to talk about any other different experiences that you had. Or if you want to give a few more.
If I may, I'd like to. Sorry, there's a delay, and I think we're talking over one another.
Oh no, it happens because you're out in California, and I'm way out here in the middle of the Atlantic in nowhere land in Newfoundland. But yeah, what would you like to talk about next?
Well, I want to say that SCARI is still operational. We're taking on cases, and if you have any problems, please give us a call. And the number is 408-320-8467. That's the SCARI line.
That's the SCARI line.
320-8467.
408
call us if you have
8467. I'll add that also in
Yes,
your
that's
episode
it.
description so people can reach out to y'all over at
Excellent.
SCARI if they need help. Now, is it only
Please do.
homes, residential, or do you also do businesses?
We do businesses. We've even gone on and did a Bigfoot hunt not too long ago. That was
Oh,
fun.
fun.
And we found one piece of weird evidence. It was a scapula of a deer. And there was all sorts of predation marks, wolves and birds and stuff like that. But on one side, and I took this to the local college who handles veterinary medicine training, right?
Right.
There was these teeth marks, and they were gigantic,
Ooh.
flattish like ours, like humans.
Now, you do have
And
cougars
they
up there in
raked
California.
along the entire blade. Say again?
I was thinking you do have cougars in Kelly.
Oh no, these weren't cougars. These are flat. You could see the scrapes in the oblique. If you shine the light obliquely, you can see clearly they were human-like teeth marks, but they were gigantic, like a Bigfoot. It was what we suspected. And so I take it to the analysts at the college, and I say, "What made that print? That is clearly," and they admitted to this. They said, "Well, it's clearly a primate." But I've not. It's got to be gigantic in order to make that mark, because gorillas wouldn't make that mark, chimps wouldn't make that.
That was going to be my next question.
Orangutans,
So they said that a gorilla couldn't make that mark. It wasn't big, and it was bigger than a gorilla.
Bigger, yeah. Also, gorillas have minor little canines, so they have some sharper teeth.
Okay.
But
that's
so
interesting.
it would make a different mark on the bone.
Yeah, because you had a
So
lot
they
of
said it was
activity.
primate, but we've never seen any primate that big before on the
That's
record.
some real hard evidence right there, especially when you're talking about teeth. I mean, you show that kind of stuff to Bigfoot hunters, they're like, "That's golden," right? I mean, everybody's looking for the feet, but what about other
Yeah.
stuff? Like, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I know. Have you ever gone other places in California Bigfoot hunting?
I went to Ben Lomond. Lots of stuff there. Even went to the Bigfoot Museum there. That was pretty
Was there?
cool.
Okay.
They actually track where there's been recent sightings in the area. So
No, I
good
love that. So
resource.
they put the little pins up there, so when people come by, they can see where the most recent sighting was?
Like, where's the last one? And he's got a new case like every day at least, the guy who runs it. So it's like,
Interesting.
it was here. I put it on the board and I said, okay, off we go.
Now, we've had some people here in Newfoundland and Labrador say they've seen or thought they have seen some Bigfoot because we were once part of the Appalachian Mountains before it separated.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all. Especially on the Appalachian chain. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
For sure, yeah, 'cause, yeah, and what about UFOs over your way? Do you have very many sightings there on that?
Yeah, my JJ, my paranormal partner witnessed one, caught it on tape.
Oh, wow.
And we did a 3-week investigation and we did a show about it.
Fun.
So
I'll have to watch
check
that
it
one
out,
for sure. That
go to
sounds
my
fun.
channel.
Well, everybody make
It was
sure.
great. And
Yeah, tell us more about your channel. You got about a minute there if you wanna give a few shout outs to your channel again and how people can follow you, Tim.
sure. Check us out on the UPRN. We are Paranormal Insight. It's me. It's just me. Sorry, but I'm here to open the doors, give you a peek behind the veil as much as I can, and talk about everything from UFOs to ghosts to Bigfoot and pretty much everything in between and beyond.
Well, thanks so much for
Oh,
being
and we're
on
on
the show.
Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, follow Tim on UPRN. Again, that's the UPRN, United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in Austin, that's in New Orleans, and also 105.3 FM in the Gulf Coast. And thanks so much again for being on the show tonight, Tim. Everybody, Follow Tim Sudano. You're going to love him.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a blast.
Thanks, Tim.